Welcome to Creating Cashflow, where I take my portfolio from zero to $1 million a month in passive income earnings. I am Dallin Wardrop, and this is my story. So today we're going to be talking about why I like a short-term car rental service as kind of my kickoff into the 0 to 1,000. So essentially, I'm not trying to go from zero to $1 million in passive income. Essentially, I want to take baby steps, and the first baby step is going to be going from zero to $1,000 a month in passive income earnings. And during the meat of this show, we're going to be talking about why I like a short-term car rental service for me. But before we get into that, I wanted to share that I've been listening to the Bigger Pockets Real Estate podcast, and I've been learning a ton. And not just about real estate, I've been learning a lot about the short-term rental market in general. Also, they interview a bunch of people that have passive income already coming in, generally from real estate, but it's really great to be able to hear other people's strategies of how they are creating cash flow. So I wanted to kick off with a small nugget for you that if you haven't heard of Bigger Pockets and you're trying to create cash flow, I think it's a really inspirational and really great knowledge base to go and check out. And as you find the content that I'm providing helpful, I want to be able to let you know every time I release a new show. And the easiest way for me to be able to let you know that I've released a new show is actually through following me or subscribing on your favorite podcast hosting service. And if you're actually watching this on YouTube, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, turn on the notification bell, all the beautiful things. All right, so getting into the meat of this show, essentially I'm gonna be talking about what I think is my best strategy to go from zero to $1,000 a month in passive income earnings based on the assets or expenses that I have right now. And if you're watching this on YouTube or anything, occasionally I will look down. And that's because I have notes that I want to tell you about just under the camera, and I don't want to leave out any juicy details. If you're just listening to this, that shouldn't be a problem at all. So going from zero to $1,000 a month, I think the best strategy for me, again, is a short-term car rental service. And for me, that's because I find that it is a super low barrier of entry. You might be wondering, how is it a low barrier of entry? Well, for me, I already own a Jeep. Well, actually, I'm almost done paying it off. So I don't completely own it outright yet, but I already have an expense, which is my Jeep, and I can turn that into an asset that starts creating some cash flow for me. So for me, it's a very low barrier of entry. I've already committed to paying off the Jeep, but even if I hadn't, I still feel like it is a low barrier of entry. For example, if I didn't have a car right now and I wanted to start generating some cash flow, you can end up buying a car with as little as $3,000 to $5,000 down. So if I go find a $30,000 car, I put down $3,000 or $5,000, then I can leverage 0% APR. I would look for a car that has 0% APR, which just means I wouldn't have to pay interest on the amount of money that I'm borrowing. So if I only put down $5,000, then I pay $25,000 over a period of time without generating any additional costs. So that can really help keep my overall payment down. And lots of cars have 0% APR, and if they don't right now, they usually will run promotions where they do. For example, the Jeep that I bought does not currently have the offer to get it with 0% APR, but when I bought it, it did. And if I was really just looking to generate cash flow, I wouldn't necessarily care so much about the specific car that I'm buying. I would look for one that rents well on Turo, and we'll talk about that more later. And I would also look for one that has 0% APR. That way I can keep my costs down and I can make sure that my car rents out as often as possible. So the next thing that I can't overemphasize enough is Turo has a full software dedicated to your success. And what I mean by that is it's incredibly expensive building and maintaining software. So if you wanted to go start your own short-term car rental service, it would take a lot of money, a lot of work just to go get the website built up, go get the app built out. And that doesn't even include the marketing and letting people know and the insurance and all of that. It doesn't include any of that. So that's a huge cost that Turo has taken on that we get to benefit from in a major way. Some of those ways that I've listed here below is I can set my own price. So Turo does have suggested pricing for your vehicle, but you can go through and set your own price and do whatever you want. So you can do it lower than they say, you can do it higher. Whatever the market is for your vehicle, you can set your own price, and it's very, very easy. You can even do individual prices per day. So like a holiday weekend, you can go and make your vehicle more expensive. Or if it's not renting a lot, you can lower your price. Whatever you want to do, you have full command over that. The other thing is you can set your own schedule. Obviously, I want to use my Jeep still. I still want to go to the beach. I want to go camping. I want to get out in the wilderness and use it. So if I want to use it, I can just block off a weekend or whatever days I want to be using it. I can block those off so no one else can book them. That's just one part of managing my schedule that I think is nice. The other thing that is nice is if my car is already booked, Turo blocks it off so that people know. I don't have to go and manage my different bookings. Turo is automatically managing them based on the schedule that I have set. The next one is Turo is covering you with insurance. Turo can take either 10% or up to 40% of the total cost of what the guest would be paying. So part of that is this management software and part of it is insurance. But if you wanted to, you could put yourself on the 90% plan where you take in 90% of the booking money and you're able to still leverage Turo's insurance for your vehicle. Granted, that's the least amount of coverage from insurance and the most out of pocket for you. But you also get the ability to use their software. So to me, that is a very low overhead to be able to go and put my business and start a business out on Turo. And the final point that I'll make about Turo having a full service solution already built out for you is the marketing. So basically, as you have good pictures, good reviews, good response time, Turo will actually make your car seen more. It will improve the SEO, the search engine optimization of your car, so that it can get seen by more people. But that would assume that people already know about Turo, which leads to my next point. Turo is brand new in New York City, which creates a huge opportunity for me as an early Turo host in the city. Well, Turo is out there, and I've recently seen their ads on bus stops and in the subway and in a number of places letting people know that Turo is now open in New York City. So this is going to do two things. One of them is going to help me. One of them is going to maybe hurt me, but I don't know. But the first thing that could potentially hurt me is that means more people are going to know about Turo, which means everybody that has cars could end up putting them on Turo, creating more competition for me. So with that, the more people that know about Turo, I think the better, because most of them don't have cars. So even though my competition can increase, the amount of people that know about Turo and potentially would go look to book a car will also increase. So I imagine I'll be able to see more bookings as more people come to the platform, even with the competition. So the next point I want to bring up that has to do with Turo growing in New York City is the fact that I believe Turo is still in the early growth stages of the entire company. So while a lot of people know about Turo, there's still tons of people that don't know about it at all. Very similar to Airbnb pre-pandemic, a ton of people knew about Airbnb, but we didn't realize all of the potential growth that could still exist until the pandemic happened and Airbnb just absolutely blew up. The short-term rental market went bonkers. And to me, that's really exciting because I feel like we're at the start or the very beginning wave of Turo. Even though it's been around for a while, I feel like it's still at the very beginning, early growth stages, and there's still a ton of more room for growth, both for hosting and also for people understanding about Turo, knowing what it is, and being able to make the decision to either go with Turo as opposed to the traditional car rental company. So the next reason why I think that Turo is a great opportunity is just word of mouth. I've mentioned before that I know a few people that host cars on Turo, and basically what I've heard from them are really, really positive things, that it almost makes it sound like it's a no-brainer business decision that you should be putting your vehicles on Turo. And if anything, you should be building up a fleet that you can have on Turo. These people that I'm talking about also, they're not like the super optimistic, making things up type of deal. One of them has shown me his Turo business dashboard and how successful he's been on that with a number of his cars. Another one has also told me all about his fleet in Phoenix and some crazy stories about people smuggling people across the border, the United States-Mexico border. So all sorts of things, which I understand. There will be some pros and cons to every single business decision. But overall, based on word of mouth from friends that I trust, I think it's a no-brainer business decision to be able to put your vehicle on Turo. So the next one is, I don't even use my car all that often, and I've actually heard this from a lot of people that went from going into work every single day to now I work from home completely, or I only commute 2 to 3 days a week, and other than that, I really don't use my car. Maybe I use it to go to the grocery store, maybe I use it to go to the gym, but even people in the suburbs, they don't seem to really use their car as often as they used to. So with that being said, why not just give it some action? It's already not doing anything. It's just sitting in the garage. And especially for me, again, I'm not convincing anybody to do this. Just this is from my perspective. My Jeep will spend pretty much 20 days of the month underground in a garage. And so I'm not using it. So why can't I monetize those days that I'm not using my Jeep and give it some action? The next reason why I think that Turo is a good opportunity for me is Jeeps are almost synonymous with adventure, and a lot of people want to get out of the city, they want to go camping, they want to go do stuff, and I have all of this extra gear that Turo allows me to put on as an add-on. So I have a cooler, I have camping chairs, I have spike ball, I have a bunch of just different random things that people might never buy if they don't have a car in the city and they don't get out that much. But it allows me to monetize even other things. Like, I would never imagine how I could rent out my cooler for 3 days for 30 bucks. But on Turo, I can go and say, I have a cooler you can add on to your rental for 10 bucks a day, and all of a sudden, just like that, my cooler, which also was an expense, starts generating cash flow. And my camping chairs, which also were just an expense for having fun, going camping, hanging out, they're now generating cash flow. So Turo makes it super easy to put add-ons, things that I'm not using, especially when I'm just at home. I'm not using my camping chairs, I'm not using my cooler, I'm using my fridge, I'm using my couch. So those things are sitting in the closet anyway, and now I have an opportunity to monetize and generate even more cash flow, which honestly I think is pretty cool. The next reason is a little bit more complicated, and personally I'm still trying to understand it, but I see it as a big pro for me, is depreciation. I really don't understand this 100% of the way, so I'm not going to speak to it in detail here, but basically from what I can find online, because I'm renting and using my car for business, I can do a tax write-off for the number of miles my car is getting driven on Turo. So I don't really know exactly how this works. I'm gonna have to run it by my CPA and really understand it, see how it impacts. Maybe I'll do another video if you guys think that sounds interesting on how the depreciation works, or if you're watching this and you know, I would love to see in the comment section down below. I've done a little bit of research, not enough. I just believe that it will be a pro for me, that I'll be able to have more of a tax write-off at the end of the year. So finally, the last reason why I think that Turo is a great opportunity for me is the Turo Calculator, which essentially is a little tool on Turo where you can go in, select your location, so I can set that to New York City, and then select the car or the price range of the car that you have. So I'm going to choose this middle range right here, and from there you're able to go see the top cars that perform on Turo. So luckily, the Jeep Wrangler that I own, the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, is the number 10 top performing car in this category and in my location. It also predicts that it's going to cash flow about $13,000 a year, which I'm assuming starts to grow and starts to snowball as you build a reputation, as you get more booking. But if that is true and that's the case, that will get me from the $0 of cash flow a month to $1,000 of cash flow a month over the course of a year at least. I don't know how long it could take. It could be faster, it might not, but the average car on Turo apparently makes about $1,000 a month. Maybe it makes a little less, maybe it makes a little more. I'm hoping that because I have a Jeep Wrangler that I'll actually be able to make a little bit more, maybe that $13,000 range. Also, like I already said, I'm in New York City, and things in New York City are so expensive. A dinky small rental car can cost $200 a day, and that's honestly mind-blowing. I hate the idea of it, and that's why we ended up actually buying a car, because we were going out on excursions here, there, wherever, and the car rental was so much, and I'm like, okay, we could pretty much have a car payment for how much we're spending in rental cars. So those are the top reasons why I think Turo is a great opportunity for me here in New York City with my Jeep Wrangler. But is anything holding me back? And I would say the biggest thing holding me back is just fear. Like, I didn't buy this Jeep with the intention of renting it out. Like, I love my Jeep, and seriously, I don't want anything to happen to it. I honestly cannot have imagined handing my keys over to a complete stranger, not knowing where they're gonna go, how they drive. I don't know them at all. That really doesn't sit super well with me, especially when I've taken impeccable care of my Jeep. I pay for underground parking. Like, I don't park it on the street for fear of who knows what happens to cars when they sit on the streets of New York City. So I don't love that, and that's going to be one big fear I'll have to be able to get over to be able to say Turo is how I'm going to be generating this cash flow. I would say I'm like almost there, like this close, and definitely you guys in this show is going to help me push, like, get over the edge of being able to say, look, the opportunity far outweighs the risks. You should go for it. So I think that this is a really good strategy for me. That's my biggest fear. Also, there's some negative online chatter. But the thing is, there's always negative online chatter. People will say, hey, Turo isn't great at, like, they don't want to pay you back or whatever. So there's definitely some negative online chatter. I haven't heard that from the people that I know. Even when they've had incidents, it sounds like they've resolved them with Turo and it hasn't been a horrible experience. So I'm going to go with that online chatter is an outlier, which definitely helps me feel a little bit better. And I also know that I can do a complete car coverage, like everything covered, where, yeah, I'll only make 60% because I'll be paying 40% for the software, but largely just for the insurance. I'll have no deductible. They'll cover any dings, dents, whatever, anything that happens with the car, they'll cover. So maybe that helps me feel more comfortable, and I can start there. And then from there, as I feel more comfortable or whatever I learn, I can move up to making more money. But at least to get me started, to make me feel comfortable, to make me feel safe, secure, and still be able to start generating some passive income, I'll start on that lower tier. The other thing I wanted to bring up is how long will I be able to ride the Turo wave? Like, is this going to really last 20 years when my Jeep could easily last me 20 years? And the answer is, I don't know, but there's definitely a wave of people doing more peer-to-peer rentals. So it's like the Airbnb market, the Turo, the short-term rental market. There's definitely a growing and building wave here. So I feel like at least right now, and while I'm getting started in the very earliest stages of generating this passive income, I think this is a great wave to catch and start building out my portfolio. And then finally, if you're still watching, I imagine some of you are like, well, is Turo actually passive income? Or maybe you already put in the comments down below, Turo isn't actually passive income. You still have to blah, 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 blah. And that is true. It's not, I guess it depends how you define passive income. Is that where you literally just put money in and you don't have to think, you don't have to touch it, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to, like, anything? I think that's a little bit strict for my definition of passive income. Right now I'm thinking, what's the least amount of effort, the least amount of work, and what can start paying me? What can I start using to generate cash flow in my life? And with Turo, the only things I can think of is like you need to respond to people in the Turo app that book and say like, hey, the car's ready for you, or do you have any questions? Like, there will be some communication back and forth. Also, I'll need to clean the car to make sure that it looks great for the person that's coming to rent it and it's nice and clean for them. But I mean, to me, that's very minimal work. I already need to clean my car, and if someone else was in my car, I would want to wash it anyway after they used it, so it would be clean for me. And I really don't think messaging someone is that difficult. So for me, I'm gonna call this one a win in the passive income bucket. So I guess to wrap all of this up, to me, based on all the vehicles that I've laid out as generating passive income, I think that this is the easiest and best way for me to go from $0 to $1,000 a month in passive income earnings. Let me know in the comments down below what you think and what you would do. If you agree, disagree, any additional thoughts that I haven't thought about or brought up here that you think I should be thinking about. And that being said, thank you so much for listening and or watching today. Again, the easiest way for me to let you know that I've dropped a new show, that there's new content, is for you to go and follow me on your favorite podcasting service, or if you're watching on YouTube, to subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Also, we're trying to build this budding community. Not only are we trying to go from $0 to $1,000 a month in passive income, let's build a community where all of us together can grow and learn from each other. So if you are building out a portfolio, I'd love to hear from you, learn from you, and be inspired by you. So put a comment down in the description. And with that, if I can ever wrap this up all the way, remember that the mind is a powerful thing, and what you focus on grows. So focus on creating cash flow, focus on your success, and stay grounded in gratitude. See ya.